Welcome into the Awesemo.com MMA live before lock, as we are here to get you ready for UFC Vegas 53, which is slated to start in an hour from now, maybe a little later than an hour from now, as we do have a fight that has been canceled, but we are here to break this one down for you, answer any questions that you do have. The good news is the fight cancellation came about 90 minutes or so before lock, so it gives us plenty of time to adjust our lives. Of course, we are sponsored by PrizePicks. Talk about PrizePicks here later on in the show. Hopefully you took advantage of that fight time prop of Krzysztof Jotko on Thursday that we mentioned. If you did not, well, you've missed out on that number. That number has jumped up dramatically from where it was there on Thursday. Of course, as always, I am joined by the fighter, Pete Rogers Jr. Happy Saturday, Pete. As I mentioned, of course, we had a fight cancellation here just about 30 minutes or so ago, as Carlos Candelario has withdrawn from this event due to illness. His matchup will now take place here on May the 14th. I will tell you, it didn't dramatically change a lot of my thoughts as in terms of the first fight. I think we talked about on Thursday of Tetsura. I mean, obviously he was going to try to get to the ground. I thought Candelario was somebody in my underdog pool to get to. But what's your take now of now down to 11 fights?
Yeah, what's up? What's up, everybody? I think that the New England cartel kind of had a rough weekend between, Candelario kind of like, not necessarily being a part of the cartel, but also like, I guess he is now. I'm not really sure. I think that they're just some, that they're friends and possibility. Is he a part of the same management, Jason?
Well, he's managed by Tyson Chartier, but he's not a part of the training team.
Yeah, because I know he's out of Underdog, and he does a lot of his stuff within Connecticut. But going out there getting some work in with the guys, it's just like not a good weekend for them. I mean, Rob Font missing weight, totally uncharacteristic of him. I'll tell you what. COVID cases in Connecticut and in New England in general are kind of like through the roof right now. So illness, who knows what the heck's going on. I'm just saying it's a little rough weekend, or at least to start, for the New England cartel. I'm still going to be pulling from a boy, Rob Font, but it's just interesting to note. And, the weight miss, I think, makes more people interested in Marlon Vera, but let's not like overreact to the news of the weight miss. I wish that this news happened as it locked, because I was pretty light on that fight, to be honest. I thought that Ty was going to backpack him for a large majority of it. I mean, Candelario, his price was just like broken though at 7,000. It just allowed you a ton of roster flexibility in a pretty competitive fight. So I'm a little bummed. I hope that people still roster it, but here we are, and now we got to pivot. And I think some natural pivots from Candelario. It's interesting, right? Because you're down at the bottom. You don't want to get too desperate and get too, ridiculous with your lineups. But I feel like a lot of people, including myself, we're going to like a Gerald Mearshart, taking a shot, hoping that, that his opponent, Krzysztof Jotko, is stupid enough to try to wrestle with him, gets caught in a guillotine, and there's Gerald Mearshart pulling off another submission.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's a lot of fighters under 8,000 that I can see pulling off stoppage victories. I mean, after Romanov, in terms of my confidence level, it's not very high on a lot of these fighters. So we're going to take some chances. If you tell me 4 or more underdogs will win here today, I would not be surprised one bit at all. Of course, appreciate everyone that's in here on a Saturday afternoon. Be sure to give us a like and subscribe also right here on YouTube, so you keep up with all of our shows, DFF offers, giveaways, and much more. Of course, once you're subscribed, be sure to hit that notification bell so you get that alert of when a show is live here on the channel. If you're not an Awesemo Plus member, you want to get a peek what's behind the paywall. Today's free premium tools and data are MLB player projections and MMA fighter rankings. Of course, we do have everything updated over there on the website with the change of Carlos Candelario being off of this fight card. Of course, now that matchup is now going to take place on May the 14th. Let's just start there. Clearly, Romanov, he's a lock for me today.
Yeah.
Who's your second most confident play? Because I think this is a very tough question, Pete. Like, there are certain fighters that I see a clear path to victory for them. Like, okay, Gina Mazzani, obviously, wrestling, takedowns, control time, cardio concern there. It's a lower level UFC women's female fight. Let's just be honest about it. Then I look at something like a Gordon Dawson. Dawson clearly has that path to victory with takedowns. Took this fight on short notice. Has been a cardio concern in 3 rounds. He's now been an American top team for about 2 months. So let's see, how has American top team maybe done some things that the Glory MMA and Fitness team has not done. Arlovsky, I like him to win by decision, but in terms of GPPs, I just don't want to get there. He's just not a high score. Font and Vera, I'll tell you, I'll probably, I want to be around the 35 to 40% on each one of these guys.
Yeah. So, I mean, it pains me to say, but like I have some torn confidence. And I think that pound for pound value, I think that Gina Mazzani represents some significant upside at her salary. Obviously, I'm always worried about her fights because she's extremely volatile. And if her cardio abandons her, her striking's not that good. It is improved, but I feel like her bread and butter is just closing the gap, implementing takedowns, and she should be able to do that with relative ease here today against Shayna Young. So I actually might say that outside of Romanov, Gina Mazzani might be my second most exposed because of the upside. As like confidence wise, I don't think that there's another confident play besides Romanov, because I can literally make a case for each one of these fighters. Like Natan Levy, I'm relatively confident that he goes out there and that he gets a win. I don't think Mike Breeden's all that bad. Debuting against Alexander Hernandez is a very difficult task, especially on short notice. You're brought in to lose and basically fill the spot, and now you get to show the world what you're really capable of. He's a talented striker, definitely has really good hands, and can defend the initial takedown. So he'll demonstrate good hips, fight for underhooks really well. It's just like chaining takedowns, where I think Natan Levy could actually have some upside in a situation like this. He definitely has some submission skills as well. So submitting Mike Breeden would not surprise me. I'll tell you what I did not like on tape about Mike Breeden, because I was honestly thinking like, okay, outside of Carlos Candelario, what am I doing at the bottom end? Like, where am I going to get to? Am I going to go to Chase Sherman? He's a hell no today. I'm just not doing it. One of the best leverage spots on the entire slate. I'm just not doing it. I could make a slight case for Joe Anderson Brito because of his recklessness. So I really started to dive into Mike Breeden, and like I see a lot of stuff on film where he's susceptible to getting hit with a head kick. And that's what Natan Levy's really, really good at, is disguising his kicks, not necessarily known as like a finisher, because he either goes the distance or he gets submissions, and he has like amazing striking skills, but it's kind of odd how his record is. I think he's going to end up, clipping Mike Breeden with some head kicks in this matchup. And I think the kicks in the outside range could be a difference maker here. And that's where, Natan Levy can mix in some takedowns. So I kind of say it's like Gina Mazzani / Natan Levy, but at the top, we also have Andre Fili, who looked career best in his previous performance before suffering that, before Daniel Pineda suffering that eye poke. He looked amazing, and he looked like he was on his way to finding a finish. And I do think it's a difficult matchup, but this is a situation where Joe Anderson Brito showed limitations to his gas tank, and you could see Andre Fili just basically pick him apart early, let Joe Anderson Brito expend all of his energy, and maybe a late finish comes in the second or third. So I know I kind of like gave you 4 or 3, and that's basically where I'm at today. Like, it's not like confidence. It's just a crappy slate. It is. And that's where, like, using tools, it's extremely helpful. Hand building, targeting certain matchups. This is a card where you have to target the correct fights. And if you do so, you're going to be profitable. I think it's going to be a weird night.
I talk about this all the time when I'm looking over in our ownership and looking at that top fire tool. One of the things I try to do is I try to look at who are the fighters who are underneath 20%. Is there someone, or maybe is there a fighter that's, say 8,600 or above, that maybe is in that 22 to 28-ish% and try to find a little bit of leverage on the field. Something I'll mention about Natan Levy. The one thing that has impressed me about him, and I've spoken to him a couple of times, is if you go back to his LFA fight against Ben Lugo, is he had to weather major adversity in that fight, and he just kept battling and battling. I mean, like, literally, the fight could have been stopped. I mean, he had to wear, and that's one of those. And when it comes to the regional scene, I love to see that on the regional scene. It's great that you go in there and you just roll through somebody. Yeah. But the fact of to see that adversity, I mean, you think about a couple weeks ago, we talked about it, leading into UFC 273 about Hamzat. It's like, hey, man, he hasn't had to weather that adversity. Now he's weathered that adversity. We now know Hamzat Chimaev is a top 5 or top 3. Look at this. You give me a smirk already.
I just got to give you a smirk because I knew it, but it's okay. Now now everybody's on the hype train.
Well,
but I get what you're saying.
You did not know if how he would handle weather and adversity because you'd never seen it.
So you could just tell who's got the it factor sometimes, and that boy's got it. So, but you're totally making great points because, you know, a lot of people look great early, and especially like, so we can kind of segue into this fight, which I think is extremely important for the slate. And it's the Silva Figueiredo fight. You have a guy in De Silva who is an early finisher, almost all of his victories coming within a round and a half. He's going up against Figueiredo, not necessarily the most skilled guy at all, brother of Davison Figueiredo. But has gone the distance a lot more than De Silva has. And I'll tell you, De Silva looked horrible after expending all of his energy. So that's a perfect situation of what Jason's saying. Like, how's this guy look in rounds 2 and rounds 3? Because in round 2 against Jeff Molina, he got absolutely worked after having a dominant round, not a dominant, but a pretty good round 1 against a tough out. So, you know, that's something that we don't know. And that's always where you should possibly lean towards experience and the fighters that have gone the distance a little bit more in a situation like that.
Let me in terms of GPPs, and I was doing office hours a little earlier today, and there was 2 favorites that I said I want to limit exposure to in GPPs. One is Andre Arlovsky and one is Krzysztof Jotko. I think I like both them to win today. It's just looking at it from a fantasy score perspective. That I just don't think that either guy in a win is going to score. I mean, you talk about Andre Arlovsky hasn't got a stoppage victory since 2015. It's 2022.
Yeah.
Krzysztof Jotko, we know what he's going to do. He's going to stick on the outside, and he is just going to jab his way to a decision victory. Death, taxes, and Krzysztof Jotko winning by decision. I mean, it's just this is who he is, and I don't think he wants to engage in a grappling matchup because that is where Gerald Meerschaert. Now, look, GPPs, I want to get to Gerald Meerschaert because of that ceiling, but I also understand he is a boom bust play.
Yeah,
like there are certain fighters you look at and say, man, they're boom bust. Joe Anderson Brito is another one of those guys. Like, I mean, look, he is a super aggressive, but I just think that Andre Fili is just at another level. Brito to me is a dart throw today.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair. Like, we have to categorize these fighters, right? Like, who's a dart throw, who's in a competitive matchup, whose odds are incorrect. And, you know, the Jotko Meerschaert fight's extremely interesting to me because if Jotko was intelligent and he has questionable fight IQ at times, he keeps this on the feet. He should win a fight. I listened to his interview and he's talking about how, like, you know, in his previous fight camp, he had a broken rib and this and that. And he's not afraid to go to the mat with Gerald Meerschaert and he'll take him down if he wants. And it's like, I know that everybody lies in interviews, as we mentioned all the time, but like, that's somewhat of a red flag. Like, bro, like, I don't know. I think that, you know, sometimes having competitive training partners, especially at American Top Team, you still feel like a little too comfortable going into the danger zone. You know what I mean? Like, Jotko may do well in grappling exchanges, but in an MMA fight, Gerald Meerschaert pulls off like miraculous. If he's got anything good about him, it's that he's a pretty damn good submission artist. And he pulls off upsets all the time by just weathering storms and coming back and finding that neck. He has an excellent guillotine choke. And that's something Jotko has been, you know, submitted in the past. Look at the Mahmoud Muradov fight. Gerald Meerschaert had no business winning that fight. Toughness prevailed, cardio prevailed, capitalizing on a good position and finding a submission. So I'm just saying, Meerschaert is on a 3-fight win streak. Jotko isn't impressive in his wins. Definitely one of the most contrarian picks on the slate at 8,800 if you want to target him. I'm just saying, like, in all of his fights, Misha Serkinov, pretty good submission grappler as well. He attempted 3 takedowns against him. It's just like, don't go in the danger zone. So I'm kind of pivoting some of my Candelario to Meerschaert in hopes that he finds that guillotine choke.
Hold on, fighters lie in interviews?
So, I mean, I'll tell you what, you can sometimes tell when they're just blowing smoke and also when they really just are a little ignorant to the truth. Like, Jotko should just keep this on the feet. Meerschaert's striking's improved, but he's the better fighter, uses better footwork, all this and that. Like, I don't know, man. Like, you don't need to go to the takedown well. He's going to run right into a guillotine.
Look, I've been interviewing fighters for a long time.
Yeah.
I just know there's certain things that they're not going to be honest in interviews. I mean, it's the reality of the situation. Like anyone who interviews fighters for a long time, you just know it. But I will tell you, there's some times where I think you do get a great insight into a fighter's camp. And I think for this week, Andre Feely was one of those guys, really kind of talked about, the mental struggles of the last 8 months, and the fact of, he didn't have a UFC contract, and he was sitting around, and he talked about, man, there were tough days. And he said, there was a point, he goes, I thought I was going to go out and have to get a job, and
Andre Feely's nasty. He's so good. He also got a whole body of tattoos. So how much does that cost? Like,
he also talked about the fact of how he's gotten a lot smarter with money.
Oh, I didn't even listen to the interview and see. I already knew it. Just lay off the tattoos for a little bit, bro.
He said the first he goes his first fight. I think he said he made like $15,000 or $12,000, whatever it was, and he's like, man, he goes, I thought I was rich. He goes, man, I'm like ready to go out, buy everything, whatnot. He goes, then I learned a hard lesson. He goes, my first year in the UFC, he goes, I made $30,000. Now take that one in first off. Now he's been in the UFC. Well, I shouldn't say that. He's been in the UFC a long time, but you should be making more than $30,000. And he goes, tax time comes. I owe $9,000. He goes, I look at my account and go, I don't have $9,000.
Yeah, I've been there. I've definitely been there. But that's the beginnings of your MMA career. And bro, Andre Feely, one of the most underrated fighters within the division. And I have to bring up this comment from Artie Van Housen saying Feely seems super insecure. I feel like confidence is very tough to gauge, and it's very difficult to be. I don't know. I don't know if he really recognizes how talented he is. Like, I think that this kid's got the goods. He gets hit and he gets wobbled at times, but like, as far as like technically, one of the most technical fighters within the division. I mean, he can do everything. He can wrestle. He can strike. I like Feely a lot. He looked excellent in his previous performance, so it was a shame that had to happen with that no contest.
This is a thing I think that a lot of people, and I guess sometimes with us being so entrenched in the MMA community and especially the MMA business, and having these real conversations, not in front of a video camera, is I think people don't understand how much of this game is mental and how much, like, it wasn't that long ago that fighters they didn't want to mention, like, I remember it was a couple of years ago when Donald Cerrone was like kind of one of the first guys to come out and says, man, I had to go see a sports psychologist.
Yeah.
And because this game is so mental, and because, I mean, especially when you're talking about from a UFC level, when, half of your pay is dictated on whether you win or not.
Yeah. So exactly, because you're not going to get paid. You get paid half basically, unless you perform well. So it's very difficult. And I always think of it like this, and some great minds have mentioned this, that during training camp, 80% physical, 20% mental. Fight night, 80% mental, 20% physical. And I truly, truly believe that, because if you really got that mental edge and you feel confident in your abilities, all the work's done, man. You just got to go out there and perform and be able to not panic. Panic is like one of the craziest things that you have to get comfortable with, like depressing. It's just like learning to stay calm within the fire. And we actually have a super chat from Sam Pierce saying best DK captain and top 2 cash plays. I was checking this out earlier, Sam, and I have to say that Marlon Vera is super, super cheap within that captain contest. So I really like him at that captain spot. It allows you to get to a ton of roster flexibility. It just makes sense. 5-round fight. Yeah, he doesn't have the best upside on the captain contest slate, but I think it's pretty safe.
I was thinking about the captain contest a little before the show, and thinking, and not just with the captain contest, but thinking over on FanDuel in the MVP situation. But, since this question is related to the captain spot, is getting away from Romanov as the captain, because I just think that's going to be the popular play. I think it's going to be a way for you to get different. Just put him in one of your regular fighter spots. I think Grant Dawson, because of the takedown and control time, is someone to consider there in the captain spot. Both guys in the main event, I think are both ones that make sense there. In terms of the top 2 cash, Romanov would be number 1 for me. And God, I hate to say this, Gino Mazzani's probably number 2.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but
I'd have to agree with you. Yeah. So we have Sam Pierce playing in the captain contest, asking questions. We've got Sam Campana saying the same thing. Said top 2 darts with fight canceled. It's got to be dart throw, Joe Anderson, Brito, Gerald Mearshart, basically how I would go about that. And we have another one from Weatherman Jason.
I see it.
DK Smallfield, GPP, last person in. You going Levy or Mazzani? I'm going Mazzani, takedown upside. I feel like there's more finishing upside for Natan Levy, whether it's via head kick or submission. But who has the worst opponent? I got to say Gina Mazzani's got the worst opponent and a stronger camp behind her. So I'm going to go Gina Mazzani. But great question, Weatherman. We appreciate you.
I would lean Mazzani, but I would probably feel more comfortable going to Natan Levy. But I just think in terms of fantasy score upside, I think Gina Mazzani is probably the one to go to. Again, some questions look at earlier. William goes, 2,500. Is he bringing a weapon? I mean, look at, and I already see Dana White's got a tweet out there talking about the fact of Alexander Romanov is a 25-1 favorite. I mean, look, the only, I think the thing with Romanov is, look, completely expected this to be a smash spot. But one of the things that you mentioned on Thursday, and I think it's a great point to mention, is his team may look at this fight as a way to work on some things.
It's my fear. That's my fear, where you have Romanov either winning too quickly, just outside that first minute bonus, right? Like, say Chase Sherman gets taken down only one time, doesn't really show the best ability to get back to his feet. And let's say he scores 105, call it 108, just under 110. At his price point, do you somewhat box yourself out of other optimal lineups? And let's say Andre Fili is like an interesting pivot, going up against a guy who's stepping up from Bill Algeo to now facing Andre Fili. I think it's a step up in competition. I really do. I think it's a dangerous fight for both fighters, but I think it's a step up in competition where Joe Anderson Brito could get worked out of there within the second or third round because of that questionable cardio. And Andre Fili coming off of what looked like career best, like he was going to destroy Pineda. So I just feel like there are some interesting pivots. I think 80% Romanov makes a lot of sense today. 20% get a little bit different. Maybe even a little bit higher for Romanov, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing with Romanov is if this fight does get into well, let me say this. Here's my problem with Chase Sherman is I just don't think he can get off his back.
Bro, he can't. I think he needs to pitter patter his way to a decision and run. Anytime Romanov does anything, cut an angle, run. I don't think he's going to get off his back. From what I saw against Jay Collier, he got planted. He's making some beginner mistakes. You like to see guys get on a hip, go for an underhook, start to butt scoot their way back to the cage. So man, I'll tell you what, it's not a good spot for Sherman at all. And based on how, if we were saying all the odds should directly result in salary, then Romanov should be like a $10,000 fighter today. Honestly, I mean, 9.6. That's a complete discount in my opinion. It's just he might win too quickly.
Appreciate everyone that's in here on a Saturday afternoon watching the Awesemo.com MMA live before lock and get access to all the great Awesemo tools and content for nearly every DFS sport out there with an Awesemo Plus weekly pass for $29.95. This includes full access to all of our premium content and tools on Awesemo.com, including player projections, ownership projections, lineup builder, and so much more. Of course, if you're just looking to play MMA DFS, you can sign up for one of our Awesemo Plus MMA package, which start as low as $2.95 weekly. Please note that Fantasy Cruncher, which you definitely want to add on to your account, is an add-on and can easily be added to these packages at checkout, but are not included in our base packages. Stop guessing, start winning. Join Awesemo Plus today. You definitely got to take advantage of using Fantasy Cruncher, as it'll help you out so much. Try to get into all these super chats that are coming.
Yo, you guys are killing it today,
rolling it in here. My filler says, Mr. Pete, is Collier worth the shot? Also, talk me off Brito. My best friend's name is Brito. It's the only reason I drafted him.
Yo, my man, my filler, I appreciate you supporting us. And Brito's worth a flyer, right? Like, he kind of reminds me of like a John Lineker. I feel like he might have more success in this matchup if he utilizes his boxing instead of going to the well of takedowns with Andre Fili. That's where he'll expend too much energy. He'll possibly gas himself out. This guy, if I look on the slate, he could have that slate breaking ability, truthfully. So I would say dabble with a little bit of Brito, but don't get too aggressive, because this guy going from Bill Algeo, who didn't have much success in the UFC up until this previous fight, going to Andre Fili, I think is a massive step up in competition. We have Daily Sam saying, if you think sports are rigged, you take Sherman. By all means, yes. I mean, if you think that there's something funny going on about this, stranger things have happened. Romanov could literally shoot himself right into an uppercut and get knocked out. But Sherman's not like a Derek Lewis type of knockout guy. It's just like he's not the most skilled guy either. So he's being brought in here as a sacrificial lamb for Alexander Romanov, and I think we have to treat it accordingly.
I think if Chase Sherman's path to victory, and look, I don't think he's going to win. I'm just going to tell you this: if he were to pull this upset off tonight, I think a big part of it's leg kicks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He needs to chop that, but he has to be careful. If I'm in his corner, we're not throwing leg kicks to the knee and up. Okay, it's like no thigh kicks. We're going calf kicks, and we're going to make Romanov basically go out there and try to shoot off of one leg. And anytime somebody has great leg kicks, you see it from Chris Gutierrez. If they touch their butt on the canvas after getting hit with a leg kick, it's a knockdown. So that's what we want. We want leg kickers. But Chase Sherman, boy, oh boy, I can't wait to see this fight, but it might be over quickly.
But Joshua, I appreciate you in the super chat. Let's take down a throwdown here today. CS, thank you for the super chat as well. Eddie, also within our super chat, says DK GPP core plays. I'm fading EMAC. I mean, look, first off the core, right? It starts with Romanov. I know when I was hand building lineups, I mean, I clicked Romanov. I did find myself getting to a lot of Johan as an under $8,000 play. But I mean, look, there's certain fighters I would say that I want to get to that are that underneath 8,000 that are just dart throws, like obviously GM3 is one of those guys. Brito, because of, his recklessness, I think, Daniel Da Silva or Lacerado, depending on, which platform you're playing on, he's a guy early stoppage victory that are some guys I core to, but to me, it was really, I found myself trying to get to a combination of Romanov with either Levy or Mazzani.
Yeah, so the basic combination that I got to was a lot of Romanov and Mazzani. Obviously, just kind of like, on the edge of your seat for that Mazzani fight. But that's a typical combination that I think is probably, has some of the best upside on the slate. I also really feel that the 8,200, 8,000 fight is between two fighters that aren't that good. I think that Da Silva looks to be a lot better, but it seems like a high variance fight where they both tend to make a lot of mistakes. One has limited cardio, untested cardio outside of, rounds 1.5. And one trains with his brother and seems to be like a shell of his brother, not even close. So, I mean, if somebody gets tired, right? Like if Jason's fighting somebody and they're completely dead in rounds 2 and rounds 3, Jason's going to pick up a win because that person's exhausted. Like you don't have to be necessarily like an elite fighter to pick up a win.
Well, think about the jiu-jitsu specialist who gassed out against Fluffy Hernandez.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Goodness, the name is escaping me right now.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu guy. I mean, world-class jiu-jitsu guy, but he literally just gassed out and Hernandez got the win. I mean, how many times have we seen that happen where somebody just the gas tank just, I mean, how many times I will tell you that fighters will say their biggest fear is not getting knocked out in a fight.
Yeah.
Their biggest fear is the gas tank is no longer there.
Yeah. Rodolfo Vieira is the name.
Yeah. Because I mean, this, like once that gas tank is gone, you're in survival mode at that point.
Yeah. I mean, that's my biggest fear going into a fight. It's not getting knocked out, submitted or whatever. It's running out of gas and not being able to protect myself. And that's why you see some fighters look for the door and they look for a way out at times. But yeah, I mean, that's why prioritizing fighters that have cardio will work in your benefit more often than not. And guys, we really appreciate all these super chats. You guys are awesome. We appreciate your support in general. Last man in on DK, Corey Randall says, Da Silva or Vera? I find it a little difficult to get away from the main event, if I'm being honest, because of the price. 8,300, 7,900. If it's a striking battle, goes 5 rounds, maybe there's a chance the winner doesn't get 95 points and above. But I don't know, man. 5 rounds is a lot.
I feel that in that question, the safer play is Vera.
Yes.
But you know, because of De Silva's history of finishing fights early, I mean, I would side with Vera just because I think it's a safer play to go with him as opposed to a guy who, if he doesn't get the stoppage in the first round, you know, it's going to kill your lineup.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree with you. It's safer to go with Vera. I like Vera a little bit. I just hope that people aren't overreacting a little too much. Rob Font's a very, very difficult fighter, but I think the kicks, the damaging leg kicks, and the distance striking and possible jiu-jitsu could be the difference maker for Marlon Vera. But I'll be pulling for my boy. We have Rafael Lopez in here with a super chat saying, "This is an early thanks for making me money tonight. Appreciate you, brother." That's definitely the hopes. If you construct the correct core, target the correct fights, I think that we can all be profitable. And a fight that I am having a hard time getting away from, Jason, let's see if you agree with me, is that Gabe Green, Johan Lyness fight. Like, yeah. I find violence in that fight. Violence. And I can see it being a high score for either one. Gabe Green has some takedown and possible submission upside. He can crack as well. But I'll tell you that Johan Lyness, I've seen him in his regional tape. He takes people down as well, but it's the power, that power at 7,700. He seems to have the size advantage on Gabe Green in a way. I'm picking Johan and it's a little difficult to get away from Johan this week for me.
Yeah, speaking about Johan, someone asked Johan or Conley for last man in. I would go Johan.
I'm going Johan as well. I mean, the Conley looked like trash on the weigh-ins. I just think that we're kind of all accustomed to him stepping up on short notice at 170 pounds, but I just don't like him at this weight class. He might be strong, but I don't know. His body looks strange. I think that he has skills to nullify Elkins in some ways and possibly, put him in danger. And I think naturally a lot of people are going to be getting to Connolly because all the damage that Elkins has taken. And what happens if his chin is gone? I mean, Connolly could pick up an elevated score today because of all the damage that Darren Elkins has taken over his career.
Samuel, appreciate you in the super chat. Mention about PrizePicks. Of course, PrizePicks is the sponsor of this show. They offer daily prop-based contests. Of course, you got to use that promo code Awesemo for up to $100 first match deposit bonus. And of course, you can get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up, deposit, and play over at PrizePicks, or receive an email within 24 to 40 hours to redeem your free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. And one of the things that we had mentioned on the strategy show on Thursday was that prop of Christoph Jocko of a fight time of, at that time, it was 12.5. Unfortunately, folks, if you did not get that number is gone. It is now 14.75. Kind of tells you exactly what how everyone is figuring that fight to go over there. In terms of some props that I do like over there, looking at the fight time of Daniel De Silva, 12.5. I think this thing's going to go 3 rounds. So I do like the over in terms of that one. Also, Jocko significant strikes is 38.5. I like the over in that one. I think he'll probably be in that 50 to 60 range in terms of significant strikes. So those are two of the props that I did that stuck out to me the most.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think that Jocko, he's got skills to increase his output. I wish he would. He's in an extremely interesting spot here at 8,800 for DraftKings and even on PrizePicks, where it's like, if everything is the same going forward, then he's going to win a decision. And that's where, targeting that over on the fight time makes sense. But if he comes in here better and improved, maybe he does throw more and he could score more. So I would probably say over on the strikes. I like that a little bit more now that the time has basically escaped us.
And I would probably play the under 1.5 takedowns for Romanov, and it's just purely because I think once he gets the fight to the ground, I just don't think Chase Sherman's going to be able to get up.
Yeah, that would have to end in round 1. If Sherman can somehow survive, that's where I could see 1 per round. But as far as like Sherman getting back to his feet, I just don't see it. I agree with you.
Yeah. Mentioned a question over in our Discord chat. Says, you think people will be scared off the missed weight of Font in a small field GPP?
I do.
And asking for leaning Font or Vera. Leading into prior to the weight miss, I was liking Font. And, one of the things I always say about weight miss is you unless you're inside that team's camp, and to truly know why there was a missed weight. I mean, look, it could have been a miscalculation. One the thing is, Font and his team have been out in Vegas for 2 weeks. They've been training at the PI for 2 weeks. The first, the two things that immediately come to my mind is, did they just mistime the weight cut, or B, is there an injury?
Yeah. Kind of weird, right? Kind of weird. It's not characteristic of Font at all.
And look, Font's a bigger 35er. Let's be honest about it. And the reason he fights at 35, and this goes back to for years, where him and Calvin Kattar were going to fight on the regional scene back in the day. And Tyson Shardy, who is their coach and manager, both told them, no, why are you going to fight each other? One with 35, one with the 45.
Yeah. I mean, they elevated each other's games because of that decision. I'm a little worried, honestly, about Candelario training alongside them and with them for the past however long, even if it was just a week, and Candelario pulls out because of illness.
Candelario did not go. I'm pretty sure he did not go out there 2 weeks ago with him.
Not 2 weeks ago, but this week. I know that I saw them getting some work in and sweating.
Well, I wonder if that's related to
weight cut,
the rehydration process from the weight cut, which, I mean, look, this, if you do that incorrectly, you could really, put yourself in a very bad position.
100%. Mr. Guy says Font had the sniffles at media day. I'm telling you, it's weird. It is weird. I'm hoping Font's okay and that he's fine, but fighters fight with illnesses all the time. So let's just hope for the best, right?
No question. Let's try to get some other questions in here. Kind of go back earlier on the chat. Joshua says Chimazani couldn't shoot it for under 45 seconds. She's got in there. Pierce Chimazani is with James Krause and Going MMA Fitness. She lives there with her. I believe they're now engaged. Her and Tim Elliott.
I believe so too.
I believe Tim proposed recently, within the past couple weeks. See here. In a 5-round decision, does Font or Vera make the optimal?
I'd have to say yes at that salary.
I would say yes, because I do think you will see both of these guys try to steal rounds with takedowns at the end. So when you get those 5 points, those can add up. Oli, Daniel Da Silva and Daniel Lacereto. Yes, that is the same person.
Does Collier have a decent chance today? Yes, I actually think that Collier wins today. I think it goes the distance because Andrei Arlovsky kind of sucks everybody into like a slow-paced striking battle. But I am picking, I'm picking Jay Collier. And if no underdogs come through, or like limited underdogs come through, we could have a situation where a low-scoring fighter still makes it into the optimal lineup.
Yeah, I mean, look, I like Arlovsky to win via decision. Talked about that on our Odd Chopper video earlier this week. But to me, the thing that concerns me about Collier is, does he get brought into that slow-paced fight that Andrei Arlovsky typically brings his guys in? Question here: Collier or Mearshart? If it's cash, I would say Collier. If it's GPPs, Mearshart.
Correct. I would agree with you.
Sam Pierce, appreciate your super chat. He goes, random question for Pete. Thoughts on open scoring?
I love it. I personally love it. I personally would want it. Some coaches are completely different with their fighters than I am with mine. If it's a close round, I tell my fighter, okay, let's act like we lost that round. So let's go out and let's put a stamp on this next round, or we need a finish. We're down 2. Some coaches are very, very misleading with their advice, and we see it from time to time, and everybody's like, what the hell fight were they watching? And I feel like they're kind of like teeter-tottering that line of like not trying to affect their fighter's confidence. I'd rather tell my guy he's down than now we lose a fight and it was because of my judgment. That's where I think like that could be completely avoided by having open scoring, but that's my personal opinion.
Well, look, I think, on the open scoring aspect, there are people who are going to be against it, TV executives, because they want to have that built-in drama.
Anticipation.
I don't know how much that the commissions. I heard someone bring this point up. Imagine in a 20,000 seat arena, if there's a really bad scorecard,
Yeah, but it's a bad scorecard no matter what, though, right?
No, but are you concerned, like, if it's like after 2 rounds and Sal Diamano has a bad scorecard, does some fan try to do something?
No, I don't, because I feel like, we're going to see a bad score.
It's a point that was brought up to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be presented to the audience no matter what. If it's after the fight, people are going to be chaotic and crazy as well. This actually might hold people a little bit. It might increase accountability a little bit, where it's like, now we're making sure that the correct judges are putting out the correct thing. You know what I mean? Like it may elevate the MMA sport as a whole. So I would love to see it.
I try to give judges and referees a fair shot because it's much different when you are sitting in that seat at cage level as opposed to being at front. I remember this years ago when Desmond Green got a decision win over Mike Richmond, and people could not believe it. I was cage side, and I was like, Des Green won the fight. Mike Richmond was throwing more shots, but he wasn't landing. And there's also a saying of when you're there and you can hear the shots, it can change the way you view the fight.
Yeah, no, I agree. And
I'll say this: if you think MMA judging sucks, why don't you dip your hands into it and see how it's a difficult thing. It is not as easy as people think it is.
Yeah.
But the one thing we have a problem in the sport is we just don't have enough high level judges and referees.
It's pretty easy. When I'm done fighting, that's what I'm going to do. So it's pretty easy. I'll show y'all how it's done. Don't worry.
I'm gonna hold you. I'm gonna shoot a text somebody and say, hey, I got somebody who says he wants.
He already knows. He already told me when I retire, please come on, and I'll be reffing. I ain't judging. I'll be reffing. But I'm telling you what, it's accountability is huge, and that's where like any of these fighters within this low salary range, if it goes the distance, like what was it, a couple weekends again, we had Yanan Wu against somebody else. I forget her name, but it was a competitive fight. In a competitive fight, if they don't get starched early, judges could be viewing it as them winning based on aggression. So like that's where a Jared Gordon, a Mike Breeden, a Joe Anderson Brito could squeak out a decision, and it's like, 90% of the time we would not expect that. But I'll tell you what, on any given day, man, whoever presents the better game plan can come through. So that's why I say sprinkle with some of these cheap options like a Brito, a Breeden, even Mearshart, Gordon. I'm pretty confident in Johan Linus. I know it's not an easy fight, but he might be my favorite underdog as far as upside.
By the way, I would not stack the main event. There's been a couple questions on that.
I tried it. I just tried it when I saw that question, and I was like, if it goes 5, but I feel like you're kind of boxing yourself out a little bit. So no, I would not as well.
I shot him 6 times. Appreciate you in the super chat. He says,
nice. Must
play captain, FanDuel, sneaky captain, play FanDuel. Must play captain. I mean, the easy one will be Romanov.
Yeah.
I've got a name for a sneaky captain I think could shock you.
On FanDuel? Let's hear it, buddy, because I suck at FanDuel, and I'm okay to say that. That's your site.
Well, here's the reason I say it's very sneaky. It's because he doesn't really believe in defense.
Who?
Darren Elkins.
Wow, he's priced up, huh?
Yeah.
Oh man, he is priced up.
So I think he would be a sneaky because I just don't think a lot of people are going to want to get there.
That's actually a pretty good one, buddy. That is a pretty good one.
Because the volume's going to be there. It's just unfortunately, well, I'll use your dad's line. His defense is an everlast punching bag.
There you go. Yeah, my dad screamed it the other night while everybody's sparring. You don't got everlast written on your forehead. Move your head. So like old Italian, like goodness gracious. What other questions we got, guys? Shoot these questions in. We got another about 10 minutes in here. We got a ton of people watching the show, tons of support with the super chats. You guys are too kind. You didn't have to do that. If you could hit that like button, get us over to like 120 likes. We'd really appreciate it.
Someone asked about Font and Vera in cash. I mean, look, I don't want to stack it, but I do feel like in cash, you have to get there just because of the price point.
I find it hard to get away from in general. Like, it's just that price point, man. And Vera's pressure could create a panic, especially if he starts chewing up the legs of Font. So I'm excited to see how this goes, because Rob Font's an amazing boxer, right, Jason? He has an excellent jab. If I'm Vera, I'm not going out orthodox. I'm going out as a southpaw, and I'm hand fighting that lead hand. So it kind of nullifies and shuts down that effective jab. He could still do it. He could pull his hand back and still jab. But now it really makes you focus on just that rear hand. And now that's when Vera can start bearing inside and outside leg kicks. If Font switches to southpaw, as he does a lot of times, to kind of throw a jab in a southpaw stance, I think that's where Vera buries leg kicks again. So it's interesting to see how Font's going to counter the kicks of Vera. Has he been working on just throwing a bomb straight right hand down the middle anytime a leg is coming?
Gordon or Breeden on FanDuel? That's Jared Gordon for me.
Yeah, it's Jared Gordon for me. I mean, I'm still worried and not convinced that Dawson has a third round gas tank. He's talked about how he wants to go out there and prove that he's a 3-round fighter because he wants to be a champion and be able to go 5 rounds. If you go back to his previous fights, definitely a hole in his game, and he knows it. But I think that if he's met with resistance, Jared Gordon can take over late.
Of course, one of the things that Pete and I love to see after the fights are over are those winning screenshots. We want to see you go into the Awesemo Hall of Fame today. Of course, you got to be rocking that Awesemo avatar on your DFS profile. Of course, you can get that over at awesemo.com/avatar. Place in the top 3 of a contest with over 5,000 contestants. Tweet your win. So at Awesemo HOF, you win a free month of Awesemo plus Platinum. Of course, only one free month can be awarded to a user per calendar year. Congratulations to Jordan going out there taking out an NBA contest for $50,000. Kudos to you. Also, Wicked taking down first place over there on DK as well, winning $60K and $10K in 2 different contests. Kudos to you. Of course, the boss man, Alex, taking down some MLB props. You got to be checking out all the betting content we have over at awesemo.com with the great stuff we have over there. Even EMAC and T McBee, EMAC with this sweet show about what T McBee was able to do over there on FanDuel, winning $30,000. And the Colts coming in there third with $5,000 over there with their MLB contest win. So you got to check out all the great content we have for MLB to get you ready. Those guys just absolutely kill it every single day with the MLB contest. Or, playoffs starting with the NBA going on. I felt like, we were kind of in the same with, broken oral bone. I'm like, what was this, NBA or MMA?
Yeah.
Yeah, not good news for the Sixers there. Not good news there.
I didn't see who broke the orbital bone.
Embiid.
Oh, damn.
As we see Mike.
We got Mike. That's not good, bro. That is definitely not good. I've been there. I broke my orbital, so that's a decent amount of time away. We got a couple of super chats again, man. You guys are killing it. Weatherman saying DK Smallfield GPP stuck between Linus and GM3. I can't have them both help, with an awesome emoji. I'm going Linus, truthfully. I am going Linus. It's an interesting fight for him. It's his debut. This is an undefeated fighter, guy who possesses ridiculous power, has some sneaky grappling as well. I didn't like how Gabe Green was put on his back and reversed against Phil Rowe. I do think that Gabe Green is talented, but I think he's very, very hittable. So I'm going to go Linus. And I think GM3's, best path is catching a guillotine choke as Christoph is coming in on a takedown. So I'm going to say Linus. How about you?
I'm with you there as well. Another super chat from Mike Filler says, I have Levy in all my lineups. Is this a bad idea? I guess the question B is, how many lineups do you have?
My Filler, I think it is a bad idea.
Yeah. And look, if you replace Levy for Romanov, not a bad idea. But yeah, I mean, I think it depends on how many lineups are you playing? I think
let's say he's into 3 max, right? I still say no. I think no matter what you're in, I still say no, just because I think Breeden can defend some takedowns. I'd much rather take a step down and go to Mazzani who has significant takedown upside against a horrible fighter. So, I mean, we haven't talked about Shayna Young, and I don't really want to talk about Shayna Young, but it's low-level women's MMA. And let's just say she lands a shot. She could, right? 20% of the time, does she come through in this fight? 30%?
So I guess there's been some issues with her in Tennessee with some of her coaches. She's actually been in Vegas the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, look, this is a low-level UFC 125-pound fight. Of course, she's dropping the 125. That's another part of this equation. It's the concern I will tell you I have Mazzani is her gassing out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm worried about that as well.
That's the one that's a big one for me. Let's see here. Get a couple other questions in here. We got a couple more minutes here left in the show. By the way, come up a little later today. We got MLB live before lock. I believe that's the next show. It's up. I'm sure Mike will give me the heads up if I'm correct on that one. Yes, MLB live before lock. Get you ready for tonight. Of course, no NBA. Of course, was watching that game last night. It was a fun little game where with the T-Wolves and the Grizzlies. De Silva Figueiredo. De Silva could win early. I do favor Figueiredo to win by decision. I just don't know if it's a great score.
Yeah, I favor De Silva, but I mean, I'm pretty neutral to that fight. It's just difficult to get away from that salary, especially on an ugly week. How many underdogs are making it into the optimal lineup tonight, Jason?
3.
Yeah, because Vera, technically.
Yeah, I would say I think this to me is a night that potentially we could have a lot of underdogs come in.
There's going to be a lot of salary left on the table. Maybe not, because Romanov chews up a decent amount. So,
but even that price tag of Romanov, it's not hard to get to him. It's not.
Yeah, that's why it's like
because there's there are some weeks where we look at that 8K range and we're just like, oh my God, where do we really want to get to? But this is one of those weeks I'm like, yeah, there's plenty of fighters on our 8K that I'm willing to get to. I think the guy that I believe I'm underweight on, maybe Gabe Green, and that concerns me.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Gabe Green's kind of that salary that a lot of people are glossing over. I have done it a little bit. I might go and readjust some of my lineups just because I feel like that fight is just a violent fight, and I could see either one of these guys killing it. Josh kind of like saying what I was thinking. Chances the Font Vera fight gets called off. When have we ever seen a main event get called off, Jason? Have we ever?
Oh man, I'm sure it's happened in the last 2 years. I mean, look, the one thing is the fact that the commission doctors approved Font after missing weight. That's a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, they approved Candelario too, and Candelario fell ill today. So.
Well, it makes you wonder. Well, but he made weight, so did something. I'm wondering if that's more in relation to the rehydration process.
Mm-hmm. Because we have 8 minutes before the slate locks. Can you imagine if Vera Font gets canceled and it's rostered in 60% of contests?
You mean like last week?
That's what I'm saying. And now here we are.
Yeah, like last week. Corey, appreciate you in the super chat. He says Dawson and Brito or Gordon and De Silva on DraftKings. Ooh.
Giving me a little anxiety with that one. I'm going to go Gordon De Silva.
Yeah, I'm thinking that just because I like Gordon's chances more than I like Brito's chances.
Yes. I agree.
I mean, look, the thing with Dawson is he's got that takedown upside that could really just rack up points.
Yeah, especially because Gordon can get back to his feet.
But the cardio is going to be a concern.
Yeah, and that's where sometimes two talented fighters nullify each other a little bit, and we see poor scoring just because they're used to having success with everything, and minimal success doesn't lead to DFS points, and could be a lot of reversing position on the cage. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for that fight, because I mean, the box scores look crazy for both fighters, but I'm a little light to it, and it makes me feel uneasy.
And something to note is the fact that we're inside the apex. It's a smaller cage, which generally does benefit the grapplers, as there's just not much room to move around.
Yeah.
Like the one fight I think of is Chase Sherman, is the fact of, it's such close quarters. I mean, you think about 30 versus 25 foot is not a big difference, but when you actually see the dimensions, it is a massive difference. And anyone who's been to a UFC event where it's a small cage or it's a big cage, it's a dramatic difference.
Yeah. Yep.
So, Pete, anything else you want to mention before we get out of here, man?
No, I mean, just good luck tonight, guys. Good luck tonight. It's a tricky one. I cannot wait for next week's card. That's something where you can have confidence in picking sides. And next week's card is going to be amazing.
I will be watching this card after the fact. So hopefully my lineups do good.
Okay. So I can't text you at all.
Oh, no. You can text me.
Okay.
I'm my buddy invited me to go out to a WWE house show tonight.
A what?
WWE house show.
Oh, WWE?
Yeah.
Wait, you guys gonna be setting up tables, throwing each other through the tables like Bill fans?
No.
What's going on?
Look. Let's just say Jason will be enjoying some fine quality beverages.
There you go.
I have not actively watched WWE in 15 years.
I used to be a huge WWE kid.
You know, I'm sure it's going to be a blast, but I mean, look, will I be monitoring my phone? Oh, no question. No question. I would literally check my phone probably every time.
Is your buddy a huge WWE fan?
Yeah.
That's gonna make it then. When somebody's passionate about something and you kind of get like excited. If you were just casually gonna watch it, I'd be like, yeah, you might not necessarily enjoy it, but like going with somebody, like I went to the WWE show, went with Dave Bautista's manager, and that was fun because he was all about it. So yeah, good luck, guys, and good luck watching that.
Yeah, Dave Bautista, a Tampa resident, for those who don't know. Literally, was probably 10 minutes from me.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a real good guy.
Yeah, he just opened a tattoo shop here.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's
there you go get tatted up, Jason.
Not gonna happen, bro. Not gonna happen.
Yeah,
bro. Why would you get a tattoo on the neck, man? That thing's gotta be painful.
I honestly was like, I don't know. I don't have any tattoos, but I feel like if I got one, I'd get something ridiculous.
Not happening, bro.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do a tattoo bet one of these days, Jason.
No, not happening. Not happening.
Maybe a henna tattoo.
Not happening, bro. Not happening. Never gonna happen. You can keep dreaming over there.
But again, guys, thank you guys for all the support. You guys are great. Good luck with your lineups. Make some money.
Be sure to smash that thumbs up button as you get out here. Of course, we'll be back here next Thursday for the strategy show for UFC 274. And then, of course, next Saturday, live before lock. So hope everyone has a great day. We'll talk to you next Thursday on the strategy show. Have a good day, everybody.